Starting my day off, going to get the trash. What is up and welcome. We got another video today, another exciting upload. I'm gonna continue to work on the Del Sol. Let me tone it back just a little bit. I'm gonna continue to work on the Del Sol, maybe work a little bit on the 240, maybe work a little bit on the Ranchero. Who knows? We'll work on something.
And now, you're watching the starting your car while it's still in gear of YouTube. Welcome to BodeVision.
Hey, so what is up and welcome. First of all, I want to thank you for joining me on another video, and also I want to make sure that you guys had a happy, nice, wonderful, safe, every single describing word for what your Thanksgiving could have been. I hope that it was. So let's get right into it. I gotta finish sanding up just a couple different things. Some stuff I'm gonna do by hand where it's real tight, real close to the windows. I like to do that by hand so that way I don't risk scuffing the window with my sander. And then we gotta get the car masked off. And now finally on this upload, we're gonna go for primer and maybe even paint. We'll see, but at the pace that this project has been going, I don't think we're gonna do paint in this video, but we'll see, who knows. Alrighty, so we're looking pretty good. When it comes to masking off the car, you guys have seen clips hundreds of times of me doing it. That's why I just threw in that one little clip in there. What I like to do is I like to make a nice border with this tape, and then there's the border piece, and then I bring in the plastic, and then that with just one piece. When you're doing all your taping, you gotta consider the fact that you're gonna have to take it off, so you don't wanna make a huge mess of all the tape, so that way when you're pulling it off, it comes off nice, smooth, and easy. So you gotta consider that when you're prepping the car before you prime it. Speaking of primer, that's what we're about to do. I'm gonna give it one final wipe down. I got my primer already mixed up. This is a high build primer or a filler primer, and I like to reduce it by just a little bit. That way it's not super thick, even though it's still thick enough to get in all the scratches. And we're good to go. Here goes nothing, spraying it. Alrighty, so since the car was primed, I went ahead and I sanded down the entire car. I finished with a 600 grit. Before I would go up to an 800 grit, but I don't really feel like that's necessary. I finished some cars with a 600 grit and it works absolutely just fine. So that's not going to be any issues, and you've got to make sure with your primer that you don't have any kind of imperfections in the primer, because the primer is what your base coat is going to look like. The base coat is just the color on top. So if your primer's real rough, your base coat's gonna be real rough, then the clear coat on top of that's not gonna lay out smooth. So sanding down the primer, giving one final look over is a very important part that you cannot overlook when you're painting a vehicle. Now some of the real high-end restoration, I'm talking $10,000 paint jobs, they'll prime a car, then they'll completely block it, prime it again, block it again, prime it again. They might even do up to 5 layers of primer by the time it's all said and done. But each one of those layers is getting sand down between the next layer, and it just goes back to making sure that primer is perfect before you put the base coat on it. So speaking of base coat, here's the base coat right here. Man, beautiful color. The code for this is GY15P. Super cool, real nice color. So I'm gonna do one final wipe down. And oh yeah, before I forget, let me address this. I had to remove the hood so that way I can get in here on the white fender. So that way it's still green. I don't wanna have an uneven white to green transition, but I was able to knock out the primer for the hood at the same time. And now I took off the trunk lid as well. And the reason for doing that is in this little area right here, I don't want my base coat to just kind of, you know, get all crazy and messy. Then there's going to be a bunch of dry spray. I prefer to spray things like the hood and the trunk when it's that big. I like to paint it by itself. That just works better for me, and that's the way I've done it for a while now. So, man, I guess it's that time. Base coat, clear coat, let's do it. Man, so overall, I gotta say it looks solid. So what I ended up doing is I did 3 coats of base. Sometimes I do just 2 coats of base depending on the coverage. This green, it wasn't covering up that well, so I ended up doing 3 coats. Now I'm gonna do the same amount of coats on the hood, the bumper, and every other thing, as long as I'm doing the same number of coats. And my first coat, I did a real thin coat. Second coat was kind of medium to wet, and third coat was the same thing, medium, consistent, wet coat. And then my clear coat smashed right on top of that, and I mean, man, dude, it looks solid. This car, man, was rough. And don't get me wrong, there still are some imperfections, but for the time that I spent on it, for the price that I charged, for everything, all the factors, I think it looks super good. I mean, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. Damn, dude, so it does look solid. I really think it looks good. I have no complaints about it whatsoever. Now I gotta wait a little while, and then I'm gonna pull off some of the tape. You gotta make sure when you're pulling off tape, when it's right on a clear coat edge, you don't let that clear coat fully cure, because then it could peel up when you're pulling off the tape. But you also gotta make sure you don't touch the clear coat anywhere else. I've just found that's what works best for me, because you definitely do not want to peel up the paint you just laid down. See, so when I'm done painting a car, I want to make sure as it's drying or curing, trim like this right here, where it's normally nice and flush right there along this A-pillar. I want to make sure that's not making contact, because I don't want anything touching the paint as it's drying. Where this back here, I'm just gonna leave that because I want to keep dust down to a minimum. So things that are crucial, I pull them off the same day. Stuff that is not crucial, I wait maybe 24 hours or so before I even mess with it. And we're looking pretty good to go. I don't want to make any dust. I usually leave a mess, and then as soon as I come back in the next day, I clean it all up because again, I want to keep dust down to a minimum. Man, I think we're wrapping up for today. Sorry if the video was a little bit short, and speaking of today, by the time I post this video, it will be tomorrow, and that tomorrow will be November 24th. I'm gonna be over at Ace Cafe. Got my Ace Cafe shirt on. I'm gonna be at Ace Cafe at the XMP meet. I think it starts at maybe 6 o'clock and goes to 11 o'clock at night PM, but I'm not too sure. I know I'll be out there, so if you see me out there, come say what's up. And also, funny story really quick, I know I'm talking a lot here. Funny story, let's get into it. So you know how in my last video I was talking about wanting to go to Daytona, bringing the Mustang out there to the turkey rod run? So it turns out that next day that I was supposed to come here, get the car and the trailer and head off, the trailer was not here. The trailer that I was gonna borrow was being used by the owner, even though I was told it'd be available, but it's really no big deal. It's my responsibility to make sure that I have stuff lined up. And then by the time I got to U-Haul, I called Daytona, the turkey rod run, and they said all of the spots were filled. So I don't know, I had no choice but to not take it. And then the next night, Thanksgiving night, somebody actually contacted me. They wanted to come see the car. They said they're 99% sure they will buy it as long as I represented it properly, which I always do. I'm not trying to waste my time and misrepresent a car because they're gonna find all the issues anyways when they get here. So long story short, they came, they bought the Mustang. The Mustang is gone, and it didn't even have to take it out to Daytona. So this Saturday, XMP meet, and then Sunday, I still think I might go to the turkey rod run anyway. So if you see me at either of those events, make sure you come say what's up. I'd love to chat with you, say what's up, see what's going on. I've been kicking it for a little while. So I think that's going to be all for this one. Let me know what you think of the Del Sol in the comment section below, and I'll hope to see you this weekend. So like this video, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. You know what it is, YouTube. I'm out.